Lesson on Cognitive Dualism and the Problem with Black and White Reasoning. The dualistic mind is a mind that thinks and perceives and processes information in the following way. It's either this or it's that. If it's not that, then it must be this. And if it's not this, then it must be that. Expressed otherwise, it's either white or it's black. If it's not black, then it must be white. And if it's not white, then it must be black. This pattern of reasoning is more commonly called black and white thinking. Most people think this way, but not consciously or voluntarily. It supposes a necessary relation between two things or states of affairs. Consider the following propositions and ask yourself if you agree. If the light is turned off, then it must be dark. Is that valid or invalid? It's invalid. The proposition supposes a necessary relation between the antecedent and the consequent. However, there is no necessary relation between those two states of affairs, because it's entirely possible for one to be true and the other to be false. For example, if you turn off the lights in the afternoon, then it won't be dark because the room is being lit by more than one light source. If I am not awake, then I must be sleeping. Is that valid or invalid? It's invalid. The proposition is also invalid because there are other mental states that are compatible with not being awake, that do not entail sleeping. For example, if you are daydreaming or drifting or unconscious or under hypnosis, then you are not awake, and none of those mean that you are sleeping. Consider this one. If I am not hot, then I must be cold. Is that valid or invalid? It's invalid. Why? Because if you're not hot, then you could be warm or freezing or chilly or comfortable. Consider this one. If I am not hungry, then I must be full. Valid or invalid? It's invalid. Why? If you're not hungry, then you could be starving or sated or stuffed. Finally, if I am not healthy, then I must be sick. Is that valid or invalid? It's invalid. Why? Because if you're not healthy, then you could be sad, heartsick, unhealthy, dying, or under the weather. Any of those are compatible states of affairs. What this means simply is that dualistic thinking forces you to think and see things in very particular ways. It also means that you don't tend to see the shades of gray that exist between the extremes. But this isn't by itself problematic. The problem is that reasoning is associative and categorical. To see why this is a problem, consider a very basic form of dualism, the color white and its opposite black. Now consider male and its opposite female, good and its opposite bad, moral and its opposite immoral, virtuous and its opposite vicious, intelligent and its opposite dumb. And this is where we can finally see how dualistic thinking, through the categorization of opposites, can lead to associations that form the basis for negative stereotypes. Consider a person who is white and male. Isn't there a tendency to see people who are white and or male to be good, moral, and virtuous, and intelligent? But now consider the opposite category. Isn't there a tendency to negatively stereotype people who are black or non-white and female to be bad and immoral and vicious and dumb? However, there is no necessary relation between these opposites. It doesn't follow from the fact that a person is white that they are good, moral, virtuous, and intelligent. After all, prisons are full of white people. Nor does it follow from the fact that a person is female that she is bad, immoral, vicious, or dumb. The tragedy is that dualistic thinking not only infects how we see other people, but also ourselves. This goes some distance in explaining why so many women, especially in rural areas, don't see themselves as intelligent or as good as their male counterparts. Therefore, dualistic or black and white thinking not only prevents individuals from seeing and appreciating alternatives, which is to say, the shades of gray, but also forms the basis for negative stereotypes that can cripple identity, self-esteem, and how we interact with others.